This happened to me a few months ago. I just need to share it with somebody. It all started at my friend's party. He's an artist who rented out a loft of an industrial part of town. If you can picture what a place like Detroit looked like in 1920, that's what the area looked like. A bunch of old turn-of-the-century factories crammed into 10 blocks, most of them abandoned. So I partied a little too hard that night and decided to crash on the couch in the loft. I woke up around 4 a.m. The sun wasn't out yet, but you could still make things out of the dim blue light. I went to the bathroom, carefully tiptoeing around the people that were passed on the floor. I looked at the bathroom window and saw panorama of deserted urban decay. I remember how much I liked places like this. It was so dark and devoid of life and strangely serene. I went back to the couch and tried to fall asleep. After 45 minutes of staring at the ceiling, I decided I didn't want to be there any longer. So I swallowed my pride and decided to wake my girlfriend up to beg her for a ride. Since walking around the vacant streets at this time was not an option, being an awesome girlfriend, she was totally cool with it. She told me she would be there in about a half hour and that she would give me a call when she was outside. My phone died 10 minutes later, so I decided I would sit by the window and watch for her car. I sat there for a while. Eventually, my eyes started getting heavy, and I began to doze off. A crashing noise outside woke me up. It wasn't loud, but enough to snap me back into reality. I looked out the window and scanned the area, but didn't see anything. However, across the streets from the law, near a mountain of garbage bags and one of those enormous dumpsters, I did see a computer and monitor smash against the floor that hadn't been there before. I went downstairs and greeted her. Just as I was about to get in the car, I remembered a friend of mine who'd blown out his power supply. Sir, so I decided to walk over to the dumpster to see what I could salvage. The monitor was worthless, but the tower seemed to have suffered almost no damage. So I put the trunk and we drove off. About a week had passed, and I had completely forgotten about the tower. So my girlfriend called to let me know that that it was still in the trunk and that she wanted it out. That night, I brought it home. Before I took it apart, I decided to hook it up to my monitor to see if it worked. To my surprise, it did. It ran Windows XP, and it looked like it had been wiped clean. I decided to search for school words like I don't know, and it was to find some secret stash full of stuff. The previous weird stuff the previous owner had forgotten about. More be curiosity, I guess. But my search came up with nothing. There were no picture files. Then I searched for movies, and one came up. It was a .avi file inside the folder titled Barbie, hidden in the Windows System 32 directory. So I played it. This is where things started getting bizarre. The movie was about an hour long and was made up of what seemed like raw exported footage. The footage of a woman sitting on a chair and talking against a white backdrop. I skipped through most of the movie and it was all the same continuous shot. I decided to sit through the footage to find out what she was talking about. 15 seconds into it, the audio became extremely bad and her voice was drowned in harsh static background noise. I couldn't make out a thing. I imported the footage into Final Cut and tried to mess with levels to isolate her voice. It helped a little, but I still couldn't hear what she was saying. I was intrigued now and began to really pay attention to her face and body language. It seemed like she was being asked questions because she stopped at times to listen and then continued talking. About 15 minutes in to the footage, her face began to redden and contort as if the questions were bothering her, but she continued to answer them anyway. Shortly after, she started to cry. She sobbed hysterically for the duration of the film. One of the few words I could lip read was skin. She repeated this word many times throughout the footage, and at one point, she even pulled a arm and out the word. She seemed to be unhappy with it. It kept on building and building, and about 40 minutes in, she was crying so hard she could barely steadily look at the camera. She stopped talking at this point. The rest of the footage was just her down. Oddly enough, she didn't get up or move. The screen just faded to black. I was dumbfounded. I played the whole thing through many times that night, trying to find inflections and nuances in her movement that would reveal anything about what was going on. I felt so dissatisfied. I wanted to know more. That was when I noticed that there were about 10 more minutes left in the timeline after the screen went black. 2 minutes past the darkness, there was more footage. The footage was extremely shaky, almost unwatchable, and depicted a pair of legs walking along train tracks. My guess is that camera was accidentally left on as it was being carried somewhere. The person in this video walked along the train tracks for about 6 minutes, then turned into a forest and walked over what looked like foliage flattened by a piece of plywood. The person continued to make on this makeshift plywood road until the clip ended. My heart started beating with excitement because there were train tracks a few miles away that looked very similar to the ones in the video. I had to check this out. I called up my friend Ezra. He's 6'4", 250 pounds of mostly muscle. I convinced him to go on a little adventure with me. I'm no pushover myself, but I felt if I was going to go wandering in the woods, looking for God knows what, some extra muscle couldn't hurt. The whole idea of investigating this video had me so excited I couldn't sleep. The next morning on a sunny Saturday, I took my flashlight camera and 7-inch cable with a matte black finish and serrated it, and went to pick up Ezra. When I got to his house, he wasn't even awake. He pretty much told me I was already packed, and I had mentally prepared myself to do this, so I decided to go through it without him. I parked my car at the train station, took my stuff, and onto the tracks. After walking for about 2 hours, I saw a broken piece of plywood, and my knees almost buckled with excitement. I searched nearby foliage, and there it was, a little plywood trail leading off into the forest. I walked slowly along the trail, paying close attention to everything. I would stop occasionally, kneel down, listen for anything or anyone, but it was so quiet. This was one of the most nerve-wracking things I'd ever done. I didn't know what to expect at the end of this trail. The dense tree line gave way to a little island of grassy field, and then I saw a house being consumed by the forest. From the look of it, no one had lived there for 20, maybe 30 years. I got my camera and snapped a few pics. A few yards away from the house was a tool shed made of rusty sheet metal. I just sat there along the trees for a while, absorbing everything. I didn't want to go into the open field. I had a bad feeling that something would see me. It took me a while to muster up the courage to go to the house. The door was partially open. I pushed it in with the flashlight and was relieved that the inside was actually very well lit. I put the flashlight away, got my camera, and took a few more pics. There was no furniture. The floor was filled with bricks, wood, and other rubble, and some of the walls had huge holes in them. When I went further to explore, I saw some things that I didn't pay much mind to in the moment, but now that I think about them in hindsight, they greatly disturb me. The first thing that seemed a little odd was that one of the doors in the first room I presume led to the basement seemed a little too new to be in this house. It was also the only door that was locked. Also, when I made my way up to the second floor, I saw some chairs and a full table that also seemed a little too new to be there. But what disturbed me the most was the bathroom. The dust on the mirror had been wiped away, and in the bathtub, I saw a clear plastic tarp that still had water droplets on it from. Soon it was last washed clean. That's when I heard something moan really loud. I jumped out of the second story window and ran back to the tracks. Halfway there, I realized the moaning was most likely a water pipe expanding or contracting. Relief gave way to horror when I wondered why the water would be running in an abandoned house in the middle of the woods. It's been a little more than 2 months since this happened, and I haven't gone back there, nor do I plan to.